Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another Voices of Inclusion speaker series. We are so excited to have you with us today, but we're very excited to welcome our guest, who is a friend of mine that I met a couple years ago at an event at my alma mater, my high school, Daniel Boone High School. And she lives in the area where I grew up, so that's super exciting. She is many things, but I asked her how she'd like to be introduced, and she said the title she likes most is mom. So she is going to be sharing about her perspective as a mother, a parent, an advocate, and an author. So she's been working really hard to create an inclusive community in my hometown, and I'm so grateful for that. But I think that our partnership together can really help make an impact all across our area. So welcome to Nicki Habecker. She's our speaker today. So I'm going to go ahead and share a PowerPoint that Nicki has put together for us, and she's going to start to tell us about her journey and what brought her here today. All right. So thank you, Nicki, for joining us. Feel
Thank
free
you
to
so
chime
much.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's an honor to be invited here today to be part of this Best Buddies Inclusion Speaker Series. Especially from looking at your Facebook page, today is International Day of Friendship, which is very exciting as well. Best Buddies mirrors my passion for inclusion and friendship and belonging within one's community. It's very important to me. So the best buddies with the inclusion and the friendship and really making sure everyone is a part of their community and belonging and has a special place to be and come together is phenomenal. So thank you for having me today. It's an honor to be here. This is my, let me see, this is my team. We call ourselves Team Habecker. I have three incredible, amazing children, each of them unique in their own way. And from each one of them, I have learned life's greatest lessons. My oldest is on the left, that's Colton. He is 25. He is now living in Dallas, Texas, working as a financial analyst, has met a lovely young lady and been dating for the past 4 years. So we're really proud of him. He's an incredible young man, and he also does things and he carries the life lessons with him, like at his college. He befriended a young man and he worked in the locker room. He played soccer. So the young man went out to lunch with the team. They gave him an honorary jersey. He really became a part of their group. So he continues that through church and through a lot of different ways. He takes the lessons that he's learned from Joshua and continues to share those. And then on the right-hand side is my daughter, and her name is Grace. And Grace actually was at the middle school in 8th grade, where we initially planted some seeds and now has become a Best Buddies chapter. So Grace is actually one of the ones that introduced me to Best Buddies in addition to Millie. And then I started really kind of looking into that and seeing how we could partner with Joshua, especially as he is exiting the school system. My third part of my team, and which is the muse for what opened up this particular area of my life, the door that I walked through, and I'm so grateful that I did, is Joshua. And we'll learn a little bit more about him in a few minutes. And then my fourth child, not really, he's actually my husband, is Kurt. And he and I, in 2 weeks, will celebrate 28 years of marriage. Yes, it's a huge feat. I'm most proud, before I talk about the other aspects of me, I am most proud of my family, and I'm most proud of 28 years of marriage. Anybody that knows anything about relationships knows that, you go through the ebbs and tides and the ups and downs, and it's not always easy, but together we make up Team Habecker, and there's a whole lot of love in this family. So you can move. Well, I'll talk a little bit about I have some notes here just to keep me on track because I am a talker. I do have, like Millie said, my greatest title is mom, and that is where I've actually learned the most lessons in life and the most strategies and the most tools. However, I do have a professional background as well. I have a master's in counselor education with a bachelor's degree in psychology, and I am a certified K through 6 elementary teacher. I've held various roles throughout. Early on, I worked at a crisis stabilization unit and I was a case manager. I was a mental health therapist as well. I was a drug and alcohol counselor as well on a chemical dependency unit. And I, believe it or not, ran the DUI class. So there, I have a various background, and I've always loved people and helping people, become their best and enjoy and learn skills and strategies to have their best life. Joshua opened up a different door probably 10, 15 years ago. Actually, he is 22. So for 22 years, he's opened up a different door, but we didn't actually know that until probably going into, his first year of life when the milestones were being missed. So we kind of started exploring that and asking the question, why? So, but through that, I have worked at the Arc of Pennsylvania as an independent inclusion consultant. I did that for 7 to 10 years. I have worked with the PA Family Network through Vision for Equality as a PA Family Advisor, really working on individuals with intellectual disabilities or other specialized healthcare needs to create their vision for what a good life would be like, and then helping them utilize the Life Course Framework tool in really making that happen. There's a great tool out there that helps families. So I really enjoyed that. But this past year, I stepped back from that role and I finished a book, and I am co-directing a family empowerment grant with the Pennsylvania Education for All Coalition. So the work is it's a joy, it's an honor to be able to be part of individuals and families' lives and to help them develop a quality life, which is why I'm here and why I do what I do. And my muse for that is all three of my children, but especially Joshua in this realm. It's a door I am honored to walk through, and each and every day I am blessed to be in this particular aspect of our life. So yeah, if you want to turn to the next slide, this is the book, and I'll hold it up as well, that I recently published as I stepped back, like I said, from the PA Family Network. There are two things that I felt really called to do and wanted to really solidify my direction over the course of the past year, especially during COVID. I had hoped to have it finished in May. It was actually finished in November. We launched it, so it was a little late. But The Journey to Community is the book that I wish that I had had when I began the journey. It is asking the question, why? Why Josh? Why our family? And throughout the book, you discover the answer to that question, and it is more beautiful than I would have ever imagined, especially starting out. So Live, Love, Belong, Journey to Community is actually a very personal journey. It's very raw, it's very vulnerable, but it's also, I promise you, worthwhile. And it's chocked full of resources, information, strategies, whole blueprint in the back of the book to help other parents and individuals navigate, as well as professionals. I have found that while each of our journeys are uniquely our own, it's important for us to realize we're not alone. This group is an example. There are other people that are walking their own journey, but together is where the magic really happens, and the support and the community, and really figuring out how to belong. So with that, I have a foundational belief. If you want to turn the slide to the next one, please. with that, now you're going to learn a little bit more about Joshua. I really have a vision for Joshua. And what I've found is the vision is really not any different for Joshua than it is for my other two children, and quite honestly, for myself. I want Joshua to love and be loved. I want him to have friends and be a friend. And I want him to be able to share his gifts and talents with other people to make the world better. That could be through volunteerism, servant leadership. That could be through employment. It could be through a dance party at the community center. Joshua is very much a valued and contributing member of our family. And I'll give you a story. When he was really little, he has had a lot of barriers and obstacles and things that we have had to overcome through language. We weren't sure for years if we would ever hear the words, "I love you." Those were not words that came easily. They took years. They are words I never get tired of hearing. So anytime you hear that, they are very precious. Another is when he was very young, when we were giving him a bath, we had the bath, and I don't particularly care for water hitting me directly in the face. It's not something I really enjoy. However, Joshua demonstrated a lesson at that point that forever has stayed with me, and it's perseverance. And it is, there's always a way. I can presume confidence. So he does like water hitting him in the face. And, I didn't really think about that because, mom's kind of protective and, that kind of thing. But he couldn't take his fingers and pull the shower up. That was too hard for him, fine motor skills. So he figured out how to go underneath of the faucet, push the little thing up. So the shower came out and sprayed him in the face, and he just laughed and giggled and giggled and giggled. Well, I would have never thought to go up underneath of the shower and turn that on so I could have a shower. So it was a lesson, like I said, that stayed with me. There's always a way, even though that way may be different. There's always a way. As much as possible, we try to have a normal family. To us, inclusion is comprehensive. Inclusion is not just in the school. Inclusion is in the family. It begins in our family. It is in the school, and it is in the community across the board. So, being that he's one of three and we try to be as fair as possible, if the other two are doing chores, guess who else has to do chores, or we get called out on it? Joshua does chores. He sorts silverware. He helps fold towels. He vacuums. He helps plant seeds for our garden. He waters the garden. He goes with us pretty much everywhere we go. We drove to Michigan to see my other son's first game, 10 hours. Guess who went in the car? Guess who got out? Guess who greeted my other son as he walked in to play the soccer game, at his first college game? We do vacations together. He's been to Florida. He's been to West Virginia. He's been to Maine. I think it's really important that we look at one another and say, I can. Presume competence, presume ability. Life will tell us how far we can go. And I think that's a wonderful lesson that Joshua has taught us. He absolutely loves people. He loves being home. He loves our family. And another important lesson, I think, that is really important for all of us is none of us are first all the time in this family, but we're all first sometime. So I think it's really incredible that sometimes we drive 10 hours, sometimes Joshua's first, and that's Dream League, or that's baseball, or different things along that way. Sometimes my daughter's first, sometimes I'm first, sometimes my husband's first, and sometimes our marriage is first. It's really important that we appreciate each and every one of our family members, and that's what makes Team Habecker so special. If you want to turn to the next slide. This is the next part of that. And Josh, as Millie said, is a blazer in her hometown of Daniel Boone School District. We really believe that every child, that foundational fundamental belief that every child has a gift and every child is a gift, no matter what. So when we look at inclusion and we look at belonging and we look at value and we look at meaningful activities and a meaningful quality life, as I said, it transcends across the board. Joshua and our team, we had our share of struggles. We had our share of challenges. There were speech and language barriers. There were physical barriers just getting in the building. There were physical barriers as far as accessing every floor or where you're at in the classroom or the height of the desk or the tables in the cafeteria. There were barriers in being included, actively and meaningfully participating, accessing the standard aligned curriculum, and being able to not only access that and learn, but then being able to be assessed and to be able to demonstrate what you know. So, there were barriers across the board for our team, and our team at times were a barrier for him. Our lack of knowledge, our lack of experience. And I am part of that team. I wouldn't ask my team to do anything that I wasn't willing to do myself. So I spent a lot of time learning and growing and searching for strategies and resources and things that really work to bring back to our team. And part of those positions, both voluntary and professional paid positions, supported my learning so I could bring that back to our team and to our school. And I'm really proud of our team. It wasn't easy, to include. Joshua had social emotional issues as well. With a lack of communication, it's really hard to get across what you're thinking, how you're feeling, if something's uncomfortable, if somebody hurts your feelings. He understands everything. His receptive understanding in language is phenomenal. It was the expressive that was hard for him. So, like I said, our team really had to pull together and had to stretch themselves and to learn. And sometimes, it wasn't easy. There were bumps along the road, but it was worth it. We were able to really advocate and champion for Joshua to be included in band. So you see the band picture. He participated in Seussical the musical. It was his favorite time of the year. We would know about Seussical the musical before any paperwork came home from school, because he would start saying Seussical the musical, Seussical the musical. And one year we had a new teacher, and he was very new, and Joshua was saying it. So I contacted the teacher, and he had no idea that they had been participating or Joshua had been participating. So we advocated and got that right back in there as well, because it's a day like to watch him and to see the music and to see all the students participate on the stage together and practice and really enjoy the experience was phenomenal. The guys up on the top, that's the lacrosse team, I think. Field hockey. I always get the two confused. So he, several of those guys, he helped, and then the new teacher was the coach. And it was phenomenal, the relationship that the new teacher could bring with the teams that he coached into the classroom, to pair with them, to socialize with them. And that was phenomenal. And then the bottom one is, you see him right in the center when he did chorus towards the end of his academics. He had every person in there, including the teacher, warming up, speaking Dory, speaking whale. So that's how they began their class. And he loves Dory. So he has this amazing way to just bring people into themselves and to be able to demonstrate comfort and not to forget to have fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. And then the band was phenomenal as well. And again, there were some challenges along the way, but one of the things that we had was, and I don't know how many of you experienced this, how many of you would want to be sitting on your back patio with your mom and dad on a Friday night? You know, it was tough. And I would hear, and my husband would hear, my friends coming over, my friends, hang out, my friends, to the point where it just literally breaks your heart as a parent, because you're like, you know, you can do what you can do, and then there are some things that you can't. And this is where an example of the magic really happened. There's many examples, but this is one. We went to his team and we said, this is what we're experiencing. You know, these are the things that he likes. Is there anything that we can do? Together, we figured out Friday nights at the home football games, and the band plays in the stand. They all sit together. He played percussion in the band, so he could come on Friday nights. He would be in the stand. They couldn't do the instructional assistant support because of the contract, those aspects, the contract. So my husband and I were able to go there. We sat in the bleachers, not with him, but close enough in the other bleachers that we were there if he needed, you know, any kind of support. There were a couple of peers that were so excited that he was coming and were paired with him. So they were there to help as well. And so Friday nights, we went from sitting on our back patio, wanting to hang out with friends, to Friday night home football games. And he was in the thick of everything. And to say, just the joy in seeing him play, the joy in seeing the friends, their interactions, then seeing the other families was incredible. We also participated in 2 parades. I started pushing him and his wheelchair around the neighborhood months in advance to prepare. So I would push him in the parades. But the first parade, I will never forget his peers, both those quote unquote with disabilities and those without, coming out of the sides and just yelling, "Yay, Josh!" And they were so excited, and just the astonishment and the pride from him and them was phenomenal. And then I had a mom that called me, and she called me to tell me how excited her son was that Joshua was participating in science class, and he answered the essential question with his assistive technology correctly. And the whole class like cheered and were so excited for him. And little did they know the amount of work that went into that, learning the standard design system, the big question, the teacher putting the essential question up, the pre-teaching, the programming of the device, then teaching Josh how to use the device and how to answer the questions at the appropriate time. And oh, by the way, he got it pretty easily and was able to do it. And his peer went home and told his family, and then they came back and said, "You're never going to believe what your son did today." So I got this all the time. So Josh was very much, and I say was very much an integral and an important member of the Blazer family, to the point where his senior year, he was nominated as one of Berk's best as a community champion. So while he didn't win, the fact that his school nominated him for that award was incredible. He was also nominated to be Peel's Inclusive Champion of the Year, which he did win, and we went to Pittsburgh to accept that award, as well as in the book, and you'll see later, the Good Citizenship Award. So throughout the journey, Joshua really taught us lessons. He led the team with his strengths, his abilities, his personality, his contagious smile and joy, and we all hopped on board to help develop his quality life to be included, valued, and belong in his school community. Okay, if you would turn to the next. So not only, as we said, is Joshua a valued member in our home, he is a valued member still in our school community, with, the seeds for the background right here is an art mural where we got a grant, and it was the seeds for Connections, which is now the Best Buddies group. So the mural in the back hangs in the cafeteria of the school, where those with disabilities and those without came together to create this project through Michaela's voice, and they chose Keys of Friendship because Josh loves the keyboards. He plays the keyboards, and the black keys or the markings down are his wheelchair, where they rolled him over to make it. So this group of young students came together to create that mural, and that's the seeds for what is now the Best Buddies group, where now we have a Connections group in the high school. With that, I am a valued member of my community. We know, as all of us are servant leaders. We all have the opportunity to create value in our community, whether that's through paid work experience, or whether that's through volunteering, or whether that's through participating in an exercise class. So up here in the left-hand corner, you see as he's bowling, that is with his Connections group. From the high school, which I told you the seeds were planted in the middle school, and that's where it began. For a while, moving into the high school, we had some significant challenges in that transition, and the program was dropped. And then probably a year to 2 years later, some families were talking. Some of those initial seeds, those initial students that had participated saw value, and those with disabilities, like my son, it's really hard to make friends if you don't participate. And once they start pairing with girlfriends, or looking at colleges or sporting events, and it's a little easier in elementary, but high school, it gets really tough. So we had to be creative, and I will be forever thankful for those young ladies that reignited the Connections group in the high school. So now there's a Connections group, and they went back and wanted to make that sustainable in the middle school. And so that's where the Best Buddies came in. So you'll see Joshua bowling there. They did a Halloween where they participated in the whole Halloween event with the school and handed out candy and decorated the room. They've gone out to eat together. They've gone to the Daniel Boone Carnival together. They've done all kinds of activities together, and it continues to this day. Each year we participate in the ringing of the bell through our church, and he contributes in that way. He has so many people that come out. We sing songs. We actually ring the bell. We take tambourines. I mean, we sing Christmas carols. It's so much fun. On the bottom left-hand corner is an exercise class that he participates in through I Am Able, I Am Fit. And it is, the founder is Chris Kegg, and he established this exercise. And I think there are times there are 60 kids there in our community that participate, and it's a wonderful safe space. They exercise. There are volunteers from the colleges that are physical therapy students, special education students, occupational therapy students that come in and work together. He participates in the Dream League through Baseball Town Charities. And again, there are groups from the community that come in and pair with our children or young adults that have specialized healthcare needs or intellectual disabilities. They're paired together even now. That we participated in buddy baseball through our local community when Joshua was young. It was a program that was started again out of a need to create those friendships inside of school and outside of school. So everyone is a valued participating member of community. The picture in the bottom there is we were at an amusement park, and Josh was in the middle of the singing and the dancing, and there are all these people dancing around him. He has this uncanny ability to just bring joy no matter where he is. And you'll see him and his dad at church. He's also a prayer partner, and he loves music, so he participates in music. The horse, he has done equestrian therapeutic riding as well. We have a local Shady Hollow, and Abilities in Motion, which is our Center for Independent Living, also had a program where he helped groom the horse, got to know the horse, petted the horse, then they could ride the horse. So there's just wonderful things happening. And so when we think of inclusion, we often just think about school, or we think about including them in an activity in school or in the classroom. But really, those seeds transfer and generalize into the community. The students in the school benefit just as much from inclusion as those with disabilities. They develop friendships. There's an acceptance for all people. I don't know too many students that don't struggle, or people at some point in their life. And when you're in an environment that appreciates every person, even the most vulnerable, then you feel safe to be in that environment too, no matter who you are. So inclusion isn't just for those with disabilities or specialized healthcare needs. It really is for everyone, and everyone benefits through that service, through those friendships, through those acceptance, and working with a variety of people. And those seeds transfer and generalize into the community, and then more opportunities are created for everyone, for friendships and for belonging. And when you have that, for the basic emphasis, you have a safer community. Statistics will show you across the board, friendships, belonging, being out in community, being accepted, caring for one another, loving one another, doing for one another, being valued and giving value to others. You live in a safer, more welcoming, warm community. And at the bottom, I like to say, he's just another superhero. But this was actually a 5K walk called Aiden's Avengers that happens in our neighborhood and our community as well. And he loves the superheroes. So he was right in the thick of that and wanted to be part of that. But there are many things that he does in the community. And it started with collecting soda tabs. So we collected soda tabs, talked to our neighbors, talked to the school, talked to different people we know. We started collecting soda tabs. He takes them to the Ronald McDonald House to give back. They use that for their electricity. Anyone can give back. Everyone can make a difference. Everyone can contribute value, even if it's a soda tab. And we did it for the veterans as well. They collect the soda tabs back before as well to help with healthcare. So he's a valued member of his home, he's a valued member of his school, and he's a valued member of his community. If you want to change to the next one. So making the difference. His senior year, not only did he receive the other awards that we talked about, much to our surprise, we were invited, and he received the Good Citizenship Award from Senator Schwank, which was phenomenal experience. And you can see that he demonstrated a high level of leadership, service to his school and community throughout the school year and beyond. And just because we left school doesn't mean that service stops. We have been in her office talking to her about the need for employment, about the need for volunteerism, about the need to create that transfer and that bridge into adulthood and have more opportunities for all people. So just so we left the school system doesn't mean that our work stops. If anything, it's just as important now as it was then. If you want to go to the next slide. And as part of that, we have continued those seeds that were planted in middle school. And in 2019, as a 50th birthday present, I invited members from our school district, teachers, parents, families, individuals with and without disabilities to come together to have a conversation. And with that conversation, really thinking about what we want for our young adults and what we want to continue in our community. So we formed community connections. We developed the mission statement of creating lifelong friendships while serving community. This was our first outing was the bowling, and that's the picture in the left. And last, we had an event where we had an ice cream social where everybody came together. We've had a Star Wars themed night. We've gone to the Ole Dairy. We've done bowling. We've gone out to eat. We've watched sunsets. We've gone for walks and hikes. We planned to dance. We've had game night. Through COVID, we were able to stay together. We participated in weekly Zooms through different activities as well. The important thing about all of this, and Best Buddies, you all are doing this in many realms as well. You're creating friendships, you're creating connections, you're creating meaningful relationships that really help. And through COVID, you needed it even more. Not a single one of our families that's in the group went into crisis. We had one another for support. Our kids had one another for support. And our community has each other for support. So it's a huge blessing that we continue. And through this particular, and this may match with Best Buddies as well, we'll see where things continue to develop and evolve with our group. We hope to not only have friendships, not only serve community through volunteerism, which we're doing with Meals on Wheels. We've served at a 5K. We served handing out candy during Christmas, and we ring the bell. And again, just many, many different things. We hope that we will also look into employment aspects and continue to work. Joshua works for the Reading Fight and Fills, which again, was a blessing from our high school and the connection with Meals on Wheels for volunteer service. But through them, we learned of a job fair. We learned of a possibility with the Reading Fight and Fills and followed up on that. And he was interviewed. And this is the second year that he's worked for them as a greeter. And again, together is where the magic happens. Josh couldn't have done this on his own. I could not have possibly done this on my own. The school couldn't have, our family couldn't, but together, all of these different pieces connect and create this incredible quality life. And my hope is in the community connections, talking with you and continuing our work, even now, is so important just to continue that inclusion and continue that friendship and continue to build that quality life that we've worked for so many years. We don't just stop because school ends. If you want to go to the next one. All right, so this is, I want to read to you two things. The cover of the book, I didn't really talk about. The front of the book, it was like the first thing, and that solidified the fact that I was going to write the book, because it is a story that deserves to be shared. It can help other people. Our purpose is to share love, to share hope, to share possibilities, to let you know that a quality life is possible. It is work, it's intentional, it's hard, but it's worth it. So Josh's friends and his art teacher created this sketch, and they had it framed and they gave it to us as a graduation present. And on the back, his friends said, Josh, we all wanted to wish you the biggest congratulations on graduating. We are all so proud of how far you've come. We have loved growing and learning with you during our time at Daniel Boone. We wish you the very best of luck after graduation. Thank you for everything you've taught us. We love you so much. And then they all signed their names. So this is a beautiful reminder of what inclusion can do, what friendship can do. It's not just about being in a classroom. It's so much more. And now I'm going to leave the last thing I want to do, and this also solidified. At graduation, one of Joshua's goals was to walk across the stage to accept his diploma. That was huge. It took years in the making for him to utilize his walker. It took incredible support. It took modifying the stage. It took incredible practice. It took the principal and assistant principal out there checking to make sure it was safe. Like, it was huge. And as he walked across the stage, one of his peers stood up and started clapping. Every other person in the stadium stood up and started clapping. There was not a dry eye. When I see people in the grocery store still or out in the community, they talk about that moment. Not only will I not forget it, but anyone that was there, anyone that was a part of our community, celebrated the success of one young man walking across that stage and getting his diploma. It was that special because we all know we touched his heart, his life, and he touched ours and made a difference. So I'm going to read the introduction of the book to you. Let Your Life Speak is a title of a book and also a time-honored Quaker admonition, usually taken to mean let the highest truths and values guide everything you do. But Palmer reinterprets those words, drawing on his own search for selfhood. Before you tell your life what you intend to do with it, he writes, listen for what it intends to do with you. Before you tell your life what truths and values you have decided to live up to, let your life tell you what truths you embody, what values you represent. A life that speaks. This young man has a life that speaks. Magical fireworks christened the magnificent sunset's brilliant display of colors. My heart is full. Peace, love, awe, the journey, the purpose, the answer. As the night came to an end, the house was quiet. I went outside in the darkness of the night. My eyes welled with tears, and they still do. I looked up at the majestic sky and gave thanks. So many answered prayers. The answer is more beautiful than I could ever have imagined or planned. Thank you, God. I never could have imagined the life I'm living. We all have our hopes, dreams, and aspirations. We plan, strive, fail, and achieve. Yet the journey may be different than what you could ever envision. Mine has been. There are unfathomable moments of laughter, tears, joy, heartache, dreams, and disappointments woven together, creating a magnificent tapestry of love and life. Welcome to our journey. My hope is that by being on here, that you realize that we are all a part of this incredible work and we all make the difference in each other's lives. And we can't stop now. Thank you for having me.
Oh, Nicki, I'm emotional.
So much.
Such a beautiful story and such a beautiful body of work that you and Joshua and your whole family have taken on. And I have had the privilege of meeting you and spending time with both of you, and I am always in awe of you. So thank you for sharing that with us. I'm so glad that you had the pandemic to create a book that is going to be helpful and continue to change lives for people. But now that we've reached the end of your presentation, I definitely want to open it up to questions or comments from our audience here. So feel free to drop it in the chat or raise your hand.
Yeah.
Andrew, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, well done, Nicki. Thanks, first of all. It was wonderful. I really just got so many thoughts and things to write down from that. A question I did have private message to me was, how old was Josh when he started to speak, and what was that like? And then I know Katie has a question after.
Okay.
As simple as you can answer.
Yeah, I have to think about that, because there are different ways of speaking. So essentially, and he
True.
still does it. When he's hungry, he'll do this. He wants to eat, or he'll do this for drink. Or he started with all done, and he started those earlier. And I was really apprehensive about teaching him sign language or using the picture exchange communication system. However, I expressed that reservation and I was open to trying it, and those things have stayed. So he spoke through that. We started with a 4 little peck recorder, and then we went to a peck book. And then from there he did use some language, and still, you know, and that was one of the challenges, and it still is a challenge actually. As I said, his receptive language is much greater than his expressive language. So even now he prefers to speak. So it was, so I'm not sure how to answer the question. So he started with those different mechanisms. He speaks, and he speaks now, and he speaks in 3 to 5 word sentences. However, he's not always intelligible to everyone. So we have a Proloco to go as well. However, the Proloco to go is challenging because he has so much more to say than he is able to say through that. So he started very young using the signs, and then continues to use sign language and Proloco to go, as well as verbalizations. So that should tell you it's been a journey.
Yeah, it does. No, thank you so much for explaining that. And I think Katie had another question. Katie, did you want to unmute?
I have a friend who had a major operation. It was kidney and a heart transplant. So I want to see him walk. What you was talking about with one man.
So you want to see the book?
No, I say I had a friend.
Yeah, I
who had a major operation.
Okay.
It was a kidney and heart.
Yeah.
Thank you for
organ.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that your friend really appreciates your friendship and you being there for them and checking in on them and just making sure they're okay and praying for them. Thank you for being such a good friend.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, I do
hopefully we could do I hope I could do a fundraiser for him. Because his sister is doing another one.
Oh, okay.
That's nice.
Well, keep us updated on that. Thank you.
Do you remember the I Can? Do you remember the picture of Josh with the I Can?
Yes.
Talk to your friend. Talk to your friend's sister. Talk to your mom. Talk to your friend's mom. And let them know that you want to do a fundraiser and see who can support you and empower you to help your friend and that vision come true.
I think Lisa has a question. Thank you, Katie. And then there was a question from Brandy in the chat. Go ahead, Lisa.
Nicki, talking about the soda tabs. You said how many do you have to bring to Ronald McDonald's house? How's that program work?
Okay, that's a great, the soda tabs?
Yeah, the soda tabs.
So that is a great question. We go to Hershey several times a year for medical appointments still. And so we collect the tabs, and then they have a house there, like almost like a shed, that you can take the Ronald McDonald soda tabs and put them in. Even through COVID, we did this. Now they also take, or they did, glossy magazines and newspapers and things like that, but you would want to check. So that's what we did. We researched the Ronald McDonald charities. You can go online and do a search, a Google search or a search bar, Ronald McDonald House, and find which one would be the closest to you. And that is something wonderful that you could do to collect the tabs. You can start talking to your friends, your family, your neighbors, your church. Our church collects them as well. The student government at our school, that was one of their projects. So they collected them. We would take them. I had another teacher friend in another state that collected them and brought them to us. And then I keep them here and we take them over and probably once or twice a year.
Thank you.
I love the idea that you're doing community service and that Joshua gets to experience that, because I think, you know, oftentimes people with IDD are the recipients of charity. You know, volunteers will come to work with them, but to really have a full life, to get to give back and feel like you have a purpose in your community is so important. And it's a great way to meet new people. I think we've all volunteered different places and gotten to meet people we wouldn't normally get to meet. So we encourage, you know, our chapters and our participants to take advantage of opportunities. It's a free activity usually that you can do together with friends too. So I love that you're doing that. Go ahead.
Also, Nicki, how did you find out about the Joshua's does he have an iPad or what kind of device does he have when he needs to answer somebody?
Great question, Lisa.
That is a great question. That is twofold. Like I said, early on, we started with the PECS, the Picture Exchange Communication System. Later, we used a 4 device. We tried a Dynavox for a couple of years, which was very great, but also we had a lot of turnover in staff and difficulty programming and challenges. So we ended up as a team of what they call abandoning that device, which was very difficult for our team, and to recover from that was incredibly difficult. Now he utilizes, it is an iPad, but for communication purposes, they call it a speech and language device with the app Proloco to go on it. And he's been using that app since 5th grade.
Wow.
And we do carry that with us. He prefers verbal language, but especially for new people or novice new listeners, we make sure he has it, especially for I want something to eat, what that is. I want something to drink, how I'm feeling. My name is, I live, my phone number is, all that safety information. So when we go to the doctor's office, he can use that to help tell them how he's feeling, and all that pertinent basic information. The other really important thing that I would want to share is we also have what we call a break folder. And that break folder has a beach picture on it. But inside that break folder, it has, I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. Please stop. You know, it has those components to give him a voice. And once he mastered that very quickly. And that started to decrease some of those social emotional issues, some of those behaviors when we replace them with communication and language or social skills. He's doing quite well. Now we do still see some things periodically, but don't we all have that?
Well, Nicki, we have just about reached, well, no, it's 4:00 now, but I know we could talk for a whole other hour about communication because that is such an important topic in our community. But before we say goodbye, I just wanted to thank you again and just continue to do the work you're doing. I think you're making such a huge difference. And as you were telling us about Joshua and all the things that you've made possible for him, the thing I kept thinking was, by meeting Joshua, he's changed so many other people's lives. And I loved that, you know, the gift that he received when he graduated with that wonderful drawing kind of articulated that the more we allow our friends with intellectual and developmental disabilities to get out in the community and experience life like the rest of us do, the more the community will embrace and understand better that we are all more alike than different. We all deserve to live to our fullest potential and have every opportunity that we aspire to have. So I just want to thank you for joining us. And I hope
I'm looking at the chat now. I had a minute to look